Welcome back to Section 2, Interface. The risk criteria page contains different modifiable criteria for conducting risk assessments using a risk matrix. Risk matrices are constructed as a table with consequences on each row and likelihoods on each column. The risk criteria page can be reached by clicking on the risk criteria icon in the navigation toolbar. The risk criteria side toolbar is on the left side of the risk criteria page. This toolbar allows you to navigate between pages within the risk criteria page. The following buttons are available on the side toolbar. The Risk Matrix button will navigate to the Risk Matrix page. On this page, you can make changes to individual entries in the Risk Matrix by assigning risk rankings to matrix intersections. The Likelihood Categories button will navigate to the Likelihood Categories page. On this page, you can add likelihood columns to the risk matrix and edit likelihood category parameters. The Consequence Categories button will navigate to the Consequence Categories page. On this page, you can add consequence rows to the risk matrix and edit consequence category parameters. The Risk Rankings button will navigate to the Risk Rankings page. On this page, you can identify, describe, and rank risk, as well as change the colors for entries in the risk matrix by category. The risk criteria main controls can be found at the top of each subpage within the risk criteria page. These controls allow you to perform actions within the subpage. The Save button allows you to save any changes you make to any subpage within the risk criteria page. Note, if you leave the subpage without saving your changes, they will be lost. The Add New Row button allows you to add a new table row beneath your selected table row. You must select a row to perform this action. The Delete Rows button allows you to delete table rows. You must select a row or rows to perform this action. A warning message will pop up to confirm your selection. The Move Row Up button allows you to move a table row above another. You must select a row to perform this action. The Move Row Down button allows you to move a table row below another. You must select a row to perform this action. By default, the zoom of the risk criteria page is always reset on 100% when the diagram is loaded. Clicking the minus magnifying glass will zoom out 5%. Clicking the plus magnifying glass will zoom in 5%. The Risk Matrix page allows the user to modify a default risk matrix. Each entry in the risk matrix can be modified using the drop-down menu. The parameters of the risk matrix, such as the number of likelihood columns, the number of consequence rows, the codes for each column and row, and the number and colors of the drop-down menu for each entry are modifiable in the likelihood categories, consequence categories, and risk rankings pages. The purpose of the Risk Matrix page is to assign risk rankings to risk matrix intersections. In addition, a risk matrix exists for each consequence type: safety, environment, asset, reputation, and community. To change between the different consequence types, simply click the drop-down window near the top of the workspace and click on the type of consequence you wish to select. The Likelihood Categories page allows the user to define likelihoods and to assign a frequency and code to each one. When choosing likelihoods, the codes will populate a drop-down list that represents the frequency at which a consequence of that magnitude can be tolerated by the organization. The user can select a likelihood from this menu. Each code has a corresponding extended verbal description. The frequency column is used as a place to describe the likelihood in terms of frequency. Likelihood categories are not used in Bowtie-Q, but are maintained in the user interface for consistency with OpenPHA. The values in this column are used for comparison against a calculated estimated event frequency to determine if tolerable risk is achieved. The Consequence Categories page, seen below, is used to define consequences used in the risk matrix. The code will be used in a drop-down list on the consequence details form to select a consequence severity. The Target Mitigated Event Likelihood, or TMEL, entered in this table is the TMEL used in quantitative calculations to determine whether the calculated level of risk is tolerable given the consequence severity selected. Each code has a corresponding description. In addition, a Consequence Categories table exists for each consequence type: safety, environment, asset, reputation, and community. To change between the different consequence types, simply click the drop-down window near the top of the workspace and click on the type of consequence you wish to select. The Risk Rankings page houses the Risk Ranking table. This table allows the user to identify, describe, and rank risks. The codes used in the Risk Rankings page are the codes that show up on each entry in the risk matrix. The Risk Rankings table includes a column to assign a color to a code and a risk rank. Each risk ranking has a default color, but can be changed to any number of pre-programmed colors, or to the color of your choosing using a selection interface, as shown below. Once you have your desired color, hit the Choose button to lock it in. If you wish to close the color interface, you can hit the Cancel button.